Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to present the Fall 2025 NJGPA results. First, we'll provide some background on NJGPA testing. As you know, the state's graduation proficiency test, referred to as the NJGPA, is administered to all 11th grade pupils. Students who do not meet the cut scores in math and/or ELA in grade 11 are scheduled for the assessment again in the summer and in the fall of grade 12. Students must attempt the test to have other graduation pathways open to them. As a reminder, students have 3 graduation pathways to meet the graduation testing requirements. The first pathway is by meeting the required cut score on the NJGPA. The second pathway is by meeting the designated cut score on an alternate assessment such as the PSAT, the SAT, ACT, or Accuplacer. The third pathway is by students submitting through the district a student portfolio appeal to the New Jersey Department of Education. Let's take a look at the students tested. For the fall NJGPA, only 12th grade students who did not previously pass the test in the spring or summer are administered the test. This means we have a much smaller sample size of students, and they are all students who struggled with the test previously. This year there were 138 students tested. Of those, 132 students tested in math and 50 students tested in ELA. Because the numbers are smaller, the demographic analysis slides that follow will have some suppressed information. As per the DOE, cohorts with less than 10 students are excluded for student privacy. Students who do not meet proficiency on the NJGPA are provided a variety of other opportunities to attempt to meet their graduation requirement, including the PSAT and the Accuplacer. One thing I'm proud of is we provide our students with many opportunities to meet this requirement. As such, of the 138 students who tested in the fall, only 44 of those students need to move to the portfolio process, which is Pathway 3, because many students met the requirements through other means. Let's take a look at the results, including demographics. As I mentioned earlier, we had 50 students in ELA and 132 students in math. When looking at the results, it's good to remember that the NJGPA, like the NJSLA, is graded on a 5-point scale. Students who score a 4 or 5 are deemed graduation ready by the state, and students who score a 1, 2, or 3 are determined not yet graduation ready. This slide shows the number of students who tested who fall into those 2 categories, as well as the state average of students in those categories for the fall administration. Another good thing to take a look at is the average score of our students compared to the average scores for the state of New Jersey. So you can see in ELA for the fall testing, our average score was a 698, and the state average was a 702. Similarly, in math, we have a 705 average, and the state's average is 707. This slide provides the demographic information for the fall test for ELA. This slide has gender, ethnicity and race, and economic disadvantage. As you can see, there is quite a bit of information suppressed because the numbers were so small. This slide continues the NJGPA ELA demographic analysis, focusing on the categories of students with disabilities, multilingual learners, and migrant students. Now we move on to the Fall 2025 NJGPA Math Demographic Analysis. As you can see, there are several categories where we have suppressed information, again, because the cohort size for that demographic was less than 10. This slide focuses on gender, ethnicity and race, and economic disadvantage. This slide continues the fall 2025 NJGPA math demographic analysis, focusing on students with disabilities, multilingual learners, and migrant students. It's useful to look at the demographic data just to make sure that we are not underserving any populations. More important than looking at the data is determining what are our next steps as a result of what we're seeing. So, as I mentioned earlier, our students are given several testing opportunities both before and after the fall administration. I think that is one of our strengths as a district because not every student is going to excel on one test day, and so it is important to provide students with as many opportunities as possible. Students who did not meet the graduation requirement through a test are now going through the New Jersey portfolio appeal process. At this time, the high school has 44 students who are completing a portfolio appeal. The high school administration has been working throughout the year with staff to analyze data and help more students meet the NJGPA in grade 11 when they first take it. These conversations include assessment committees, department meetings, as well as individual data conferences with teachers. Last year, the high school reinstituted the integrated math class to help students and support them. Here, the high school is continuing last year's pilot of having English 11 and integrated math run on an A-B schedule instead of semesters. This was decided because the NJGPA test only happens in March, and we wanted to make sure all students had equitable access to material before taking the test. In addition, last year the high school staff was trained to administer the AccuPlacer, which, when allowed to do so by OCC, opens more opportunities for students to take tests. As always, thank you so much for allowing us to share this information. We appreciate your time and assistance.